Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the SADGA Podcast. And we've got another fantastic episode for you this evening with two very, very new guests. I haven't actually interviewed either Denian Reid or Charlene Pienaar on one of these live shows. So super, super excited. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for taking the time. Charlene, let's begin with you. You've made a fantastic start to you've played a couple of fantastic events so far this season, if you want to call it that. How would you assess the state of your game at the moment heading into the Tshwane Disabled Open?
Thank you, Craig. At the moment, I would say my game is up and down. I feel every time when you step onto the golf course, it's more like a learning curve. And I think that is something that will never end as well. You always learn as well. And especially, if you take it, every single golf course has its own challenges or obstacles. So my focus will be rather to do based on course management, especially at Waterkloof.
And how well do you know Waterkloof, out of interest?
I think I played it twice. So yes, this will be my third time, if I remember correctly.
Awesome. And Denian, we were chatting earlier. You mentioned that you played today and shot a very, very casual 74. How would you assess the state of your game heading into the event?
I'm feeling comfortable with my game at the moment. The main one I'm focusing on is the mental aspect of it all, and that's where I feel I've been struggling the most. So rounds like this just gives me that confidence boost heading into Waterkloof.
What in particular have you kind of been struggling with? Just sort of staying focused, or keeping momentum up once you get going, or where have the issues kind of?
I've been struggling to basically stay in the moment and don't get ahead of myself, and don't look back at your past mistakes. Focus on the shot at hand and just stay in the present.
And I mean, when did you kind of identify that was something you needed to work on? Was there any one particular round where you felt like you maybe made a good start and then you got ahead of yourself and just maybe it didn't pan out as well as you'd like? Can you pinpoint anything?
Exactly that. And the biggest example for me would be at Ibotse. I think it was back in May. Started off well on the first round, got ahead of myself and just let it slip. Yeah, so since then I've been working with a new mental coach and trying to get through that mental block and move forward.
Oh, cool. Well, fingers crossed that it pans out. Charlene, what's the not the state of your game, but rather what's the state of your guide situation? Because obviously a guide is very integral to how you perform in any given tournament. Talk us through who's gonna be helping you out at the event, and how often you've worked with them.
Okay. Neil will be assisting me for this tournament. This is a new guide. We have actually played 3 times together already. To me, especially, it is very important from a visually impaired perspective that your guide actually knows your game and knows how to line you up on the golf course itself.
And then I suppose also kind of like understanding you as a person as much as a golfer. So knowing what to say after, like a good shot, or maybe one where it didn't quite pan out as you had hoped. I suppose that's also quite a big part of it as well.
No, I fully agree. They actually need to assist you, stay motivated. As Denian said, stay in the moment and just enjoy it.
So obviously you guys have very, very different challenges. Denian, you having cerebral palsy, and Charlene, you being visually impaired. Charlene, beginning with you, I mean, what would you say is the biggest challenge you face in a well, not necessarily even a competitive round, but just a general round of golf? Where would you say your biggest challenges lie? Like, would it just be having faith in your guide, or what would you say the issue where the challenges are?
faith in yourself, number one, faith in your guide as well. And you guys need to have a good communication skill between yourselves. Yes, that's very important.
Okay. And Denian, being someone with CP, do you tend towards wanting to use a cart, or do you prefer to walk and stay relatively loose?
I prefer walking to stay loose and just feel relaxed. But the biggest thing I struggle with, especially over a tournament like this, is fatigue.
Okay.
So tournaments like this, I do look at rather getting a cart to save my energy and use it when it's actually needed.
And out of interest, how does fatigue generally manifest itself? Do you have like a particular miss, like a pull or a push, or how does that?
I generally start slicing the ball
Okay.
when I do get tired. Yeah, especially with my right arm, when it does get tired, it cramps up a bit, and it just doesn't allow me to get through that ball properly.
Oh yeah, that sort of that makes sense.
Yes.
But how much do you think experience this weekend is gonna count? I mean, I don't know how much you've played Waterkloof and what you can expect from the event, but how much do you think knowing the course is gonna influence your overall result?
It's going to play a big part. You've got to identify the scoring holes and capitalize on those. And the holes where it doesn't suit my game nicely, you've just got to go in there and just push through and focus and get through on a low score. You don't want to. I want to get rid of those high numbers.
And Charlene, what's your preparation looking like heading into the weekend? Are you going to play any practice rounds, or how's the preparation been going?
Not at the moment any practice rounds. Unfortunately, I'm too busy at work at the moment, to take off. But currently, I would say, to me, I know, it's important, but rather to stay focused and be confident.
And are there any particular holes, having played Waterkloof a couple of times, are there any holes that you think may be quite crucial to your overall performance?
I think every hole is important, especially going into the first and second day. I would say yes, every single hole is important. It's just to go out and do your best.
Yeah, that's very, very wise words. And yeah, I mean, it kind of speaks to what Denian was saying earlier about, staying present and staying in the moment and not getting too far ahead of yourself. But Charlene, when you play good golf, what aspects of your game are generally those that sort of carry you to a good round, would you say?
I would say, let's rather put it like that. The clubs I enjoy the most in my golf bag, I would say, is my driver and my 5-wood. Every time when I actually hit them, I actually feel like I'm getting more confident.
And if you're hitting those well, you generally playing well then.
Yes. Putting as well, I think mostly it depends as well how you feel today, in the sense of, are you positive? That plays a crucial role as well, yes, in the game.
And yeah, and I suppose again with the putting, it's having full faith in the fact that your guide has picked the right line for you on that particular putt as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And Denian, I mean, from what I've gathered about your game, your ball striking is very solid. But what would you say is the strength of your game in terms of, like, when you play well? What generally is the sort of strong part of your game?
When I am able to put a good round together, it's generally the short game and the putting sort of clicks, and it all just comes into play. Yeah, so I pride myself on that short game. And what advice would you guys, Denian, I'll start with you and then we can go to Charlene, but what advice from I suppose besides
golf. I mean, golf we can get to, but what advice would you give to someone who is growing up with CP and the challenges that presents? What advice would you give to? I mean, obviously this is very much off topic, but what advice would you give people in your position, Denian?
I would say never use the word can't. Never believe the word can't. You're capable of more than what you think and what other people tell you. So trust yourself and shoot for the stars.
And I suppose it's also a function of not really letting any negativity that people kind of
surround yourself with people that want to lift you up, not put you down. Yes.
And Charlene, for you, I mean, as someone who you had your accident shortly before your 21st birthday, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously for the better part of 21 years or 20 years, you knew what it was like to have like perfect sight and everything like that. What would you say? What advice would you give to someone who may find themselves in a similar position in terms of how they deal with it and how they move forward with their lives?
To me, every morning with grace, when you actually wake up, you have a choice of to do what you want to do, to be what you want to be. And the only thing that is stopping you from being successful is yourself.
Yeah. And I suppose just as Denian alluded to, just kind of always having that self-belief.
Yes.
And even like on the bad days, sort of finding the good in everything that you do.
Yeah, that's it.
So let me just get to my questions here. With regard to your preparation, what goes into like what you look for in a practice round, Charlene? What are you hoping to? Obviously, you mentioned that you're not unfortunately going to be able to play a practice round, but how do you generally prepare for an event, especially at a course that maybe you haven't played as often as some others?
Especially in the morning when you actually arrive, you would rather go and try and putt to get a feeling for the green, number one. Number two, maybe go and do a couple of chippings. And if there's a driving range, to go and actually do a few practice shots as well. That is extremely important, to try and get loose as well. And just get an overall feeling for the greens as well as, your surroundings.
Yeah, that makes 100% sense. And Denian, what is a practice round generally look like for you, either a couple of days before or even your preparation before the round itself on the day?
So my preparation basically consists, especially when I play a practice round, is understanding my misses on the course on those specific holes and playing to my strengths and ensuring that I don't put myself in a position where one of my weaknesses can be exploited.
Yeah, that I suppose that having that understanding probably helps keep you quite calm in the round itself, sort of knowing where you can miss it and where you can't.
Exactly.
But
that.
I didn't actually put this question down when I sent it to you guys, but I'm curious to know the answer. So you've played a couple of rounds together, and you've observed each other's games. What, Denian, would you say impresses you most about watching someone with a visual impairment play the game?
What impresses me the most is how well the golfer and their guide actually work together. The amount of trust they have between each other is phenomenal. It's amazing to watch. That trust, that level of trust it's next level.
And you, Charlene, not necessarily someone in Denian's position, but just a physically disabled person generally who, you know, likely has use of their sight and hearing, but has a physical limitation. I mean, what do you find most impressive about observing that aspect as you have over the last few years?
To me, it is, you can see when a player is actually putting in everything, their perseverance, and never giving up, you know, just pushing forward the entire time. That is motivating to me as well.
Yeah,
Because
and
sorry,
Karen.
each person is different with regard to their disability, you know, so everybody is struggling. So at the end of the day is what you are doing with your disability. Do you want to conquer the world itself? That is the question.
Yeah, and again, it comes back to what's basically become a common theme throughout this chat is it comes back to your mindset and how you choose to deal with your circumstances. But I think it's also quite interesting with disabled golf. Like it provides quite a, not only SADGA, but disabled golf around the world provides quite a unique platform where, you know, people that are sort of in very different circumstances are able to compete in the same field as one another. And I mean, I guess my question off that would be, Charlene, we can start with you and then go to Denian. You know, how cool is it to, through disabled golf, have an outlet where you can still be competitive in spite of your limitations?
Well, especially with SADGA, you know, they created a platform for people with disabilities to come together, to connect, to build relationships and to motivate each other. So yes, I think it is wonderful. It's actually phenomenal, you know, just to be part of something bigger.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, do you think it helps you kind of deal with sort of day-to-day life a little bit easier in terms of, you know, like if maybe you're not in a great space with whatever it may be off the course, and then, you know, on the golf course at a SADGA event, you're surrounded by people from or who have similar challenges and different challenges, and you know what, you can be fully accepting of your circumstances. That must also be quite cool as well.
No, it is.
And Denian, is there anything you'd like to add? I mean, how cool would you? I mean, how would you articulate what it's like to be in an environment like SADGA as someone who I think only joined towards the end of last year or so?
Yeah, I joined in April last year, and I've enjoyed it. The level of understanding there is between all golfers, that even though we've got all our separate limitations, we'll all understand that there are limitations, and there's just like camaraderie around all those golfers.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, has any, I mean, I'll ask both of you guys this question. You know, has there been anyone who's particularly impressed you just by their ability to overcome a particular challenge that they may have, and or maybe just someone that you've really kind of related to within the association? Charlene, I mean, is there anyone you've kind of connected with?
There's actually a lot of players that I connected with. You know, as I said previously, we all are struggling, and at the end of the day is what you are doing with your limitations. So yes, there's, even if I take it, you know, every single person on the disabled team has a special place in my heart. You know, it's just like we're a close-knitted family.
Yeah, that's very, very well said. Very, very true. And Denian, I mean, you've had plenty of experience now playing SADGA events. Yeah, how would you assess the people that you've encountered and the impact that they've had?
The SADGA group, golfers and members, they are probably the most welcoming people I've ever met in my life. From the first event I entered, it felt like that's exactly where I belonged.
Yeah, those are two very, very powerful answers, guys. You've been very, very generous with your time. So I'm just going to quickly wrap it up with one final question relating to the event. Obviously, you are both very, very fierce competitors. You're sort of behind your very kind of chilled, very friendly natures. But Charlene, what sort of results this weekend in the physically disabled Stableford division would you be happy with? What would be a good result? Not necessarily I guess like a position, but in terms of points. I mean, do you have like a number in mind that you're trying to achieve?
Craig, at the moment, no. To me, I'm just thankful and grateful to be able to participate. And my main aim will be basically more to take one shot at a time.
Fantastic. And Denian, you've also played some phenomenal golf recently. What do you have a number, a 2-round score in mind, or even a result?
No specific score result. All I'm looking to get out of this weekend is to at least put 2 solid rounds together and just trust the processes that I've been putting in place in the last couple of months.
Fantastic. Well, I wish you guys all the very best, and I'm sure it's going to be an absolutely phenomenal event. And I just hope it goes really, really well and you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, I can't thank
you so much.
enough.
Thanks, and we must definitely have a catch-up podcast again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks very much,
Awesome.
Craig.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Thank you. Enjoy the evening, guys.
Cheers.
Thank
You
you.
too. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.